الذين ظلموا وبشرى للمحسنين. إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. أولئك أصحاب الجنة خالدين فيها جزاء بما كانوا يعملون. ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه إحسانا حملته أمه كرها ووضعته كرها وحمله وفصاله 30 شهرا حتى إذا بلغ أشده وبلغ 40 سنة قال رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين. أولئك الذين نتقبل عنهم أحسن ما عملوا ونتجاوز عن سيئاتهم في أصحاب الجنة وعد الصدق الذي كانوا يوعدون. والذي قال لوالديه أف لكما أتعدانني أن أخرج وقد خلت القرون من قبلي وهما يستغيثان الله ويلك آمن إن وعد الله حق فيقول ما هذا إلا أساطير الأولين. أولئك الذين حق عليهم القول في قد خلت من قبلهم من الجن والإنس إنهم كانوا خاسرين.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم إلى يوم الدين. Surat al-Ahqaf concludes, before it there was 7 surahs, so this is the 7th one that all began with Hamim. And all of these 7 surahs actually talk about the Quran, talk about, focus in the Quran. Just if you think about it, the next set of surahs, do you think is going to talk about what? It's going to Surah Muhammad, Surah Al-Fatih, about the messenger. You find out the first 7 and the 3 will talk about the messenger, inshallah. So if we look to and therefore the surah starts with Hamim, Tanzil al-Kitab min Allah al-Aziz al-Hakim, similar to the Hamim, the revelation of the book, which is the Quran, is from Allah, to affirm that it is from Allah, the Almighty, the All-Wise. But the center, and every surah is said to talk about the Quran, but there is a central theme within the surah related to the Quran. The center theme on this surah is that the Quran is not only sent to mankind, it's a final message sent to both mankind and the jinn. And then it also shows that when those people who receive this message, what is their responsibility? When they hear about it, what they should do, And obviously the responsibility is to convey it to others. So, and then the surah has another element, which is the rights of the parent too, which is important, and we listen to this ayat on it. If you look, when is to identify what the jinn came in, how do you know that the jinn involved? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, وَإِذْ صَرَفْنَا إِلَيْكَ نَفَرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. that remember when we have sent a group of the jinn to listen to the Quran. فَلَمَّا حَضَرُوهُ قَالُوا انصتوا. When they listened to it, he said, stop and listen to it. And that's a lesson we can learn from the jinn too. When the Quran is, because a lot of time you see people running the Quran even in the house and nobody's listening to it, or in the stores. It somehow it always bothered me. I said, it's almost we making, is it entertainment? I mean, it's the Quran is supposed to listen to it, and it is the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, it's not just repeating words that we just use it and we never concentrate on what is being recited. So here is when the jinn came to it, قالوا أنصتوا, listen to it, you know, listen in silence to it. فلما قضي الأمر ولوا إلى قومهم منذرين. So what happened, as soon as they finished, the Prophet ﷺ finished the recitation, they didn't stop and enjoyed it. They directly returned it to their people as warners. So we should actually take from this from the jinn two lessons. One of them that when, as I said, when the Quran is recited, you better listen attentively to it. And the second one, as soon as the recitation is and you understand the message from this recitation, you should rush to deliver it to other people, to your family at least, in that regard. Then what they did when they go to their families now or to their group, what they are going to deliver. So they told them, قالوا يا قومنا إنا سمعنا كتابا أنزل من بعد موسى. Oh, our people directly, when the jinn, and I will talk about the jinn now speaking. Oh, our people, surely we have heard the book, the Quran, send it down after Musa. What is the Quran? مصدقا لما بين يديه يهدي إلى الحق وإلى طريق مستقيم يا قومنا أجيبوا داعي الله وآمنوا به. So, and confirming what has came before it, it is guides to the truth and to the straight path. Oh, our people, respond to it, obey it. You know, obey the Allah caller and believe in Him. Then they give them why? يغفر لكم من ذنوبكم, that Allah will forgive some of your sins, you know. ويجيركم من عذاب أليم, and He will save you and protect you from the painful torment. ومن لم يجب, then they give the warning, ومن لم يجب داعي الله فليس بمعجز في الأرض وليس له من دونه أولياء. And then whoever does not respond to the Allah's caller, does not listen to the Prophet Muhammad and obey him, will not escape on the earth, and they will have no protector beside Allah. They are in clear errors. So we notice that there is actually a few things here that you look at this ayah. First of all, they said, قالوا يا قومنا إنا سمعنا كتابا أنزل من بعد موسى. If you stop here and said, wait a minute, you know, where is, you know, Musa, what was the book before the Quran? People think the Injil. No, the Injil, Isa. But they said, no, it is the book of Moses. And I want to tell you this. If you go to the whole Quran, you find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not designate the Injil as a book. If you just study it in your own, you find always designate the Torah as a book, the Moses as a book. Yes, Jesus, and this is why if you look at reality now to the Bible, the Old Testament, and the New Testament, you directly will recognize the New Testament is not a revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is just a story, a seerah, you know, which is really interesting, you know. But anyway, study it in your own. I don't want to distract from the things here. But there is also this jinn knew something. Look at this. They said that Allah يغفر لكم من ذنوبكم. Not Allah will forgive ذنوبكم. That means all of the, no, some of it. So they recognize also that Allah can forgive the sins that you did in violation of His commands related to His relationship with Him. But Allah does not like rituals, for example. We do rituals. Allah can forgive. You didn't pray, Allah can forgive it. You didn't fast, you didn't go to Hajj, Allah can forgive it, you know. But the rights of other people, Allah does not forgive. There has to be some expiation for it. If you did injustice to somebody, backbited somebody, hurt somebody, there will be an account for it. Either if you are righteous, then Allah will compensate for in your behalf. If Allah wants to hold you account, He will let you compensate to that person on the day of judgment. And we know the process. You either take some of your good deeds, and if you don't have good deeds, then he loaded a new part of his bad deeds. So that's why they use the word men did not have a generalities. No, but there is some, you watch it, that there is some sins are not forgiven. And they also understood, they said there is nobody can escape Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, everybody's going to have to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at some point, and nobody else. And you know, and frankly, they also say, وَلَيْسَ لَهُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَوْلِيَاء. You know, that nobody also can protect you. And you know, if you really think about it seriously, we always talking to Brother Amin yesterday, and I know he's not here today. Brother Amin was completely physically fit, you know, but suddenly his heart stops. And if he was so fortunate that he was in a place closer to a hospital, that his son was there, and he felt a little bit uncomfortable, and they ran to the hospital, and he was almost away from it for almost over a day, over 24 hours, unconscious completely. And they have, you know, obviously if the heart stops, you know what they do. They do the CPR, and that's very bad because, you know, they can break your ribs and so on. And he felt for a while, he feel bad. Fortunately, none of his ribs was broken. But what is this? Who controls our heart? You know, a minor things, just probably an electrical signal that stops, and suddenly we all dead, you know. Doesn't have, they checked all the arteries and everything, and he is completely fit. Nothing in his heart. And now they put something, you know, electrical signal, if the heart stops it, to initiate it again. Basically, something, you know, it's anyway. But the other one, if you look at it, you know, if even a person who will be a most intelligent, the genius one, the most powerful, and they get a small blood clot in his brain, and suddenly he loses it. He becomes even worse than a child. You know, so we really, there is no protection seriously for us other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, for it. Then so that is the message from the first message, which is from the, you know, the jinn. Actually, we do it. If the jinn understood it this way, that as soon as they hear the Quran, they listen attentively to it, and when understood something, they rush to their people to deliver it to them. So that should be our responsibility also. When we listen to the Quran, we should directly try to deliver what we understood to other people, particularly our families and our friends. Then the surah presents now another situation, a contrasting situation regarding relationship between parents and children. The first situation involved righteous children who recognize, you know, the rights of their parents. And then Allah promises rewards for both parents and the children, you know. So here is and this is frankly, sometime when you read this story, this ayat, it really becoming the most, you know, if you face the first one, if you have your children are righteous children, you are blessed. If the children, you know, try to deviate from, and you cannot force them, you know, deviate from the religion, do not want to believe in it, argue, particularly when you grow, it is the most devastating to a family. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about the first one. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَلَدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا, you know, that we have enjoined upon a person, you know, the mankind, goodness toward his parents. His mother, you know, by the way, I said this one. Do you emphasize in your kids that they have to be kind to you? You know, you don't actually, you know, it's an interesting, if you look for Surat Luqman, when Luqman was advising his son, the part about relationship with the parent, Luqman didn't teach it to his son, but Allah is the one who taught it to his son. And this is why he said, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا. Allah is the one who's giving the command to the children, to be kind to their parents. You don't have to tell the children, you better listen to me because you are going to go to hell if you don't listen to it. If you reach that point, there is something wrong happening in this family. If you are righteous and the parent and the kids are righteous, they will themselves will recognize it. And then Allah emphasized on the mother, obviously. His mother carried him with hardship and they gave him birth in hardship. And his, the gestation and weaning, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, his carrying and his weaning took, 30 months. You know all the story about Sayyidina Ali and so on in this case. When about what, and actually it's interesting because there is another verse that said weaning the child for 2 years, 24 months. So they tell you actually, I wish maybe some people who are doctors, in what OBGYN, they know, can the child actually survive if he was born before 6 months? Because it seems like it from the ayat in the Quran that says the woman can deliver a child at 6 months, not 9, and still can survive, if you take this ayat. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that his carrying and his weaning, it took, 30 months, and so the mother obviously was the one suffering. حتى بلغ أشده وبلغ 40 سنة. When he attains maturity and reached 40 years. That's it. Yes, بلغ أشده وبلغ 40 سنة. Yes, and I said attains maturity and reaches 40 years. I probably highlighted the 40 years because, no, I'm going to show you something here, that there is something unique about 40 years. Maybe 40 years, if you happen to become mature by 40 years, you are in deep trouble now. 40 years, alhamdulillah, most of us are above 40 years except one, so now look at this, is the child in the back. And here when he reached, if you didn't pray to your parent before 40 years, after 40 years you have no excuse. And this is a قال, then when you reach 40 years, become a mature and reach 40 years, قال ربي أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه واصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين. So he said, my Lord, enable me to be grateful for your favor, which you have bestowed upon me and upon my parent, and that I do righteous, and help me to do righteous deeds that are pleasing to you, and make my offspring, my children, righteous. Indeed, I have repented to you, and indeed, I am truly a Muslim, of the Muslims. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue and says, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he affirmed now that Allah accept this dua from him. أولئك الذين نتقبل عنهم أحسن ما عملوا ونتجاوز عن سيئاتهم. Those are the ones whom we will accept the best of what they did and will overlook their misdeeds. في أصحاب الجنة, and then they are among the companion of paradise. That is the promise of truth which they have been promised. So Allah subhanahu assured them to do this. So there's few things here actually. One of them, that should be the best dua for your parent. ربي أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين. That should be a dua, that people should actually remember and do it for their parent, because it's a dua for yourself, for your parent, and for your children. It's just one statement, one simple dua. The other one, it actually, as I said, 40 years is a very interesting. As you know, this talk is put in the website. And in the website, I have an appendix which I listed what the relevance of 40 years for so many things related to number 40. What is the relevance of number 40? But as I said, it indicates that is a level of maturity that every person has. And that even the Prophet ﷺ, when he became a prophet, what? 40. Now, there is, if a parent is passed away, yes, you can do dua for forgiving them and for paradise and so on, but do they have any rights upon you after they passed away? A man came and asked the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "O Messenger of Allah, is there anything left for goodness that I owe to my parents after their death?" And the Prophet ﷺ told him, yes, there is four things you do it for your parents. What is these four things that the Prophet ﷺ directed this man to do? One, pray for them 5 times every day. That means after every prayer, you can say, Allahumma fir liwalidayya, for example, kama rabbana saghir. So you, after every prayer, you said, my Lord, Rabbi ighfir li wa liwalidayya, Rabbi irhamhuma kama rabbayani saghir. So the first one is simple things. So after every prayer, do this dua. Rabbi ighfir li wa liwalidayya. So, and the second one, they said that maintain ties with their friends. If they have friends that there was good of them, try to contact with their friends too and ask about them. Fulfill their promises, and then keep good relation with family member who were only connected through them. That means it's basically the relatives of your father and the relatives of your mother if you're passed away. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, فَهَذَا الَّذِي بَقِيَ عَلَيْكَ مِنْ بِرُّهُمَا بَعْدَ مَوْتِهِمَا. And the Prophet ﷺ said, this is what remains of your duty to honor them after their death. So I think we probably most people to do number one, but actually number two, they will maintain with their friends. I don't know if we really even, I remember. The other ones, fulfill their promises. Yes, that will happen. Keep relationship, particularly you are far away now. Do we keep relationship with our aunts or uncles and cousins and nephews and so on? I mean, but this is something, just take away and try. If you have still uncle or aunt, on life from your father and mother, if your father and mother are alive, don't worry about it. But if they passed away, then call them and find out, or their children. You just go back to that time. Okay. But anyway, it is advice from the Prophet ﷺ is something that sometimes we overlook. So it's not only just praying for them, but also there is another things you can do. The second situation, which I said it's actually the most difficult, and the challenge for righteous parents that they could face. And this is when their children refuse to accept, basically the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or do something that sometimes violate a key principles in Islam. I'll tell you the one thing which is critical sometime in this society, that if a daughter married non-Muslim, at becoming, a very and this happened often, well, I don't say often enough, but it happened, that I'm sure, you probably know some people would, and that I'm telling you, it is the most devastating to the parents, that when they recognize this happening. And the one thing which really sometimes you have to emphasize, because this happened to a friend of mine, and then I said, when she was with you guys, did she pray? And he said, not necessarily, not always. I said, okay, when you were tolerating, not praying, which is more critical from Islamic priorities, because Islam has a priorities, is because consider, if he considered that if she married non-Muslim, that means it's committing, zina, basically, it's not a legitimate marriage. Which is more important, not praying or committing zina? Which one is higher in the priorities? Not praying. I said, okay, why you are tolerating this, and suddenly you're making a big deal out of this? This is something we have to watch also for children. If you set the priorities, ensure at least the higher priority they did it, because when they do it, I'm sure it's going to protect them, inshallah, from the other ones. But if you ignore the most important ones, then why are you worrying about the least important ones? So although it is devastating, but it's funny because actually you find people are so upset and distressed with this, but they are not distressed when their kids do not pray. when we said the prayer is the most important things in Islam. Can I finish and then we finish the discussion because nobody was listening to your talk here, that fortunately. So anyway, so in this case, والذي قال لوالديه أف لكما أتعدانني, and why the kids actually, most kids, and this is an interesting part. What is the problem here? The kid does not believe on the day of judgment. That's it. And that's why I said, believing in the day of judgment is the most critical article of belief. Because if you do not believe in the day of judgment, you don't have to believe in Allah, you don't have to believe in the angel, you don't have to believe in the book, everything. But if you believe in the day of judgment, there is accountability. Then you said, oh, in the day of judgment, who's going to hold me accountable? It's going to be Allah. Based on what? Based on some guidance, means based in a book. How would he know? Well, anybody recording for that book, then the angels. Suddenly you identified all of the other article of beliefs coming in by the. But if you rejected the day of judgment, in the same time, if you reject the day of judgment, would you really, what type of morality? Why you care about moralities? Because there is no accountability. Enjoy your life here. And that's something is very important. I'm digressing a little bit. Because one thing we look at what's happening in the world today and said, how can Allah allow all of this happening like the people happening in Palestine? You have to remember something. This life is Allah didn't set this life for punishment or reward. The real punishment is in the hereafter, and the real reward in the hereafter. So when you look, like if you look when Pharaoh, the Pharaoh, used to slaughter the young children, the infant children, wasn't Allah subhanahu there? And didn't he live all his life, in comfort life as a king? And the end he died drowning. I mean, drowning is not the worst to this anyway, because, he could have died burning in a fire or something as a punishment. But so don't look at the things, when happened to Ashab al-Ukhdud, that Allah wasn't there. There is not, this life, if we just know the reality of this life, I think life becomes so easy. We can recognize this is just, a test for all people. Whoever does wrong is a test, whoever does right is a test, whoever observes the wrong being done is a test. So if Allah subhanahu wants to test all of the Muslim nations, 61 Muslim nations, what better test to give to them, most compelling test that nobody can deny than what is happening today? That you're looking at, because now nobody can claim, I didn't know. They see all of what is happening and everyone living his life comfortably. They not even care about it. He said, what is this? This is a religion that Allah revealed that Muslims are supposed to feel the pain for other Muslims and support them, and they are brother to each other and ikhwah. So Allah, so anyway, so here is the case in a person a kid who does not believe on the day of judgment. He said, but he who says to his parent, uffin lakuma, upon you both, do you promise me that I shall be raised up again when generation before has passed away? Where is all of the people who died before me? Then the parent who said, woe to you, amen. Woe to you, believe. Indeed, the promise of Allah is true. But he says there is nothing but tales of the ancient. He said, this is asatir al-awwalin. These people die and wake up again and accountable. It's just a tale story. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أولئك الذين حق عليهم القول فمن قد خلت من قبلهم الجن إنهم كانوا هم الخاسرين. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such are the ones upon whom the decree has come into effect, the joining nation of the jinn and the human who passed away before them. Indeed, they are the losers. Here is again the same emphasis on the jinn, that the punishment, the jinn received the message, they will, if rejected, they will be punished the same like the human being in this case. Then the surah talks about a nation which was very powerful nation and maybe the most powerful nation that Allah describes. And this nation is the people of prophethood, which is the Qawm Ad. And Allah mentioned Qawm Ad in so many verses in the Quran in a very interesting way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about Qawm Ad in this surah. He said, وَاذْكُرْ أَخَ عَادٍ. Who أَخَ عَادٍ? You know, the people of Ad, remember the brother of Ad. The brother of Ad, Qawm Ad, is Prophet Hud. Is under قومه بالأحقاف. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the location of them. He warned their people in Al-Ahqaf. That's what the surah called Al-Ahqaf. So that is the location. Where is Ahqaf? You know, Ahqaf, people say that they believe it's a region in Saudi Arabia, in southern Saudi Arabia. That's what the people do this, you know. But let us continue. وَقَدْ خَلَتِ النُّذُرُ مِنْ بَيْنِ يَدَيْهَا وَمِنْ خَلْفِهَا أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا. Then here it comes, Sayyidina Hud came to them, and he was warner to them, as many warner who came before. All of the prophets have done. And all of he did taught them as he taught, and Allah, as all of the messenger have taught their people. Worship none but Allah. Truly, I fear for you the punishment on the mighty day. أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا اللَّهِ إِنِّي أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ عَذَابَ يَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ. This was the message that all of the Prophet delivered to their people. So said now, Prophet Hud delivered to the people of Ad the same. But obviously they rejected him. قالوا أجئتنا لتأفكنا عن آلهتنا فأتينا بما تعدنا إن كنت من الصادقين. Did you come? Have you come to turn away from our gods, from what we worshiped before? Then bring us to what the threats that you have, if you are truthful. All the threats that you're telling us that's going to happen to us, bring it to us if you are telling the truth. Then he said, قال إنما العلم عند الله وبلغتم أرسلت به ولكني أراكم قوما تجهلون. He said the knowledge is only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has a knowledge. Whenever Allah decides to bring the punishment, He's bringing the punishment. I'm just delivering it to you, to the message, you know. And then I just deliver to you what, and I see that you are people of ignorance, because they're rejecting. You know, it's really funny, interesting about it. Most of this accounts in the Quran, when the prophets come to serve people and threaten them of a punishment, they said, bring us a punishment. You know, I mean, that's their, I mean, why would they wish for yourself the punishment anyway? You know, even if he is not telling the truth, why you want to, to make that statement? But that's a stupidity that you find for all of them. Then obviously the punishment came to them. But this punishment was an interesting, but it started actually with a drought. How would we know the drought? Why is it drought? Because Allah didn't say there was a drought came to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they saw, a storm coming, or a cloud is coming, a heavy cloud. When they saw this dense cloud coming toward their valleys, they said, oh, the cloud bringing rain. So that means they have to be anxious to see it. Therefore, expected, that means if they're looking for a rain, if there was rain all the time, you feel bad about it, it's going to cause flooding. But in their case, they were happy about it, that will bring them, blessing. Then Allah will say, but this is what فَمَا اسْتَعْجَلْتُ بِهِ مِنْ رِيحٍ. No, this is the torment for which you were asked to be hastened. This is your punishment that's coming to you now. A wind wherein is a painful torment. And here is, this is now, I don't know, in Egypt, in most of countries, do you guys have hurricanes or tornadoes? We don't have tornadoes in Egypt, but this is almost like a tornado coming to them, because the tornado comes also with a very dark cloud that comes with it, So, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, this was, basically a very heavy wind that is going to come, has a painful torment for you. And then تدمر كل شيء بأمر ربها فأصبحوا لا يرى إلا مساكنهم كذلك نجزي القوم المجرمين. Destroying everything by the command of their Lord, so they became such that nothing could be seen except their dwelling. In general, when a tornado comes, destroy the houses. But here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say it destroyed everything, but their dwelling remained, you know. And thus we recompense the guilty one. This, you know, this is now we recompense those people who are guilty ones. So that is the punishment for them. The question really comes, who are those people of Ad? Because one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them, but left their dwelling. So where is their dwelling? If you go to the southern of Saudi Arabia, what they call it is, there is nothing there. And I know Aramco did a study that because they said it might be buried, they went underground, they have these seismic, you know, seismology graphs, and nothing, they didn't show anything. So that directly it's not there, you know, just because of this. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in other verses in the Quran tell us features about those people. What is the most famous? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fi Surat al-Fajr. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us about it, what they have? ألم ترى كيف فعل ربك بعاد ألم ترى كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us what distinguished those people. Did you see how Allah dealt with the people of Ad? The people of Aram, the famed with great columns. Now, if you tell me, if you go and I went and searched, I said, okay, what is the oldest civilization? The oldest civilization that was known for building large columns, or the first oldest the builder. You know what's all of that search will show? Egypt, ancient Egyptians. And look at these columns in ancient Egyptians. So, I mean, how can you say people in Saudi, where is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leave these things as a sign for us to know? So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is another ayah also. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, so if you take the ayah from Surah Al-Fajr, ألم ترى كيف فعل ربك بعاد
breakfast था.
इसकी तरफ से था?
Can I get the one who's speaking to please to put himself in silent? The second one also find in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about the people of Ad. وَتَتَّخِذُونَ مَصَانِعَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَخْلُدُونَ. And they make for themselves factory, they might live forever. So the people of Ad now, Allah described to us two attributes of them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's nothing came like them. They build a lot of large columns, they build the factories so they can live forever. So this is the science. So now if you look at these, and I looked at it and so on, I'm not going to go, this is, you know, many actual archaeologists, you know, now think, several, at least I won't say many, several, they think actually the people of Ad is the one who were the ancient Egyptian, who built the pyramids. And they built obviously all of these columns and temples and so on you saw, but they said the pyramids also was built not for burial, but for cleansing the body from all of the impurities and diseases so they can live forever. And they have, and this is a study, if you look, this is a book by a guy by the name Christopher Dunn. He did, you know, a study on the pyramids and what it has. And, you know, they saw that this is the pyramid. This is a charts that they have done. You know, you're probably interesting, Dr. Jafar, because of the electricity. That electromagnetic energy for the internal rooms of the pyramid. The internal rooms in the pyramid is suspended, and there is water actually comes, and this water vibrates the whole column when the room is in it, and they create that electromagnetic energy and great static charge and so on. And this is how they do it, all of them. You can study this if you are fascinating, you know. And by the way, you know, Egypt does not have just the 3 pyramids. Egypt actually, if you look multiple, because they also said that that these pyramids was also intended to create electricity, and these columns was intended to deliver wireless transmission of electricity, so they can light the city. So and they said Tesla, when he was trying to develop this wireless transmission of electricity, he said the concept actually from the ancient Egyptian that they have it, you know. And Egypt now have over 118, 120 pyramids. We just think of the big ones, but there are many places in in the country that has them. I'll just mention something quick here. It's in the appendix, has more details about number 40, since we said when you reach a 40, you are going to do the dua for your parent. If you look at number 40, it came several times here. One of them, that Musa, Allah, وَإِذْ وَعَدْنَا مُوسَى 40 لَيْلَةً, 40 nights that Allah promised Musa for 40 ليلة. When Prophet Musa came in to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, who give him an appointment for 30 days, he completed another 10, became 40. When the people from Bani Israel, was displaced in the Sinai because of their violations, they were for 40 years, Muharramatun alayhim 40 years. The Prophet ﷺ was 40 years. The rule of the righteous, Khilafah was 40 years. It was interesting because 41, that's what Muawiyah came. So the end of the righteous Khilafah came here. The Prophet ﷺ said, if a man died and there is just 40 people, don't be true believer, and they basically make declaration for him, Allah will use their statement about that person in consideration. And then there is also Ibn Abbas reported that if you reach 40 years and then your goods does not exceed your evil, you prepare yourself for the hellfire. 40 also is an important number, because minus 40 degrees centigrade or degree Fahrenheit are the same. Minus 40 and minus 40, is the same. The Dajjal will come 40 days, There are so many things, that you can look at it in the website and do it. So I'm not going to read them because it's you can read this on your own, and that encourage you to go to the website and look at it too. Okay. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت فإنك يا ربنا تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وبفضلك عن من سواك. اللهم بفضلك ورحمتك على كلمة حق ودين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. اللهم أوزعنا أن نشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علينا وعلى والدينا وأن نعمل صالحا ترضاه. وأصلح لنا في ذرياتنا إن تبنا إليك وإننا من المسلمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us, shower us with your blessings, increase our knowledge, grant us forgiveness, and reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Oh Allah, make their graves a garden from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, we have many of our friends and relatives who are sick. We have our son Ma'raj, our daughter Aisha Wani, and our grandson Isa. Oh Allah, grant to all of them full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them, and make them righteous. Oh Allah, grant us the power and the ability that we may be grateful for your favor which you have bestowed upon us and our parents, and that we may do righteous deeds that are pleasing to you. Oh Allah, we have many of our brethren who are suffering from oppression. Oh Allah, we have many of our brethren, particularly those in Palestine, who are facing barbaric enemies, unjust world and complacent Muslim nation. Oh Allah, heal their trauma, protect their helpless, grant them lasting peace and prosperity, and fulfill their needs. Oh Allah, we ask you every name you have elected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weakness have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.